The last modification that I'm going to make, and I'm in the process of doing it, and this is for the treble form. What I did was, these were still hard to separate from the mold, these pieces, and it's because of these. Notice I can take this off. I've made pins, they just come off, which will greatly ease the removal of these from the casting. And the big deal, I believe, the big deal about this is that it will reduce the stress on the forms substantially that I have to use to get the damn things off the casting. So it's going to be nice. And these pieces I'll be able to hammer out, and I've made them quite a bit stouter. Just stuck them back in here, clamped them down, and got them lined up properly. So my next task, and I think probably my last task for this form, is to straighten these up. And here at the bottom where they need to be wide, I need to weld all the way around. It's going to be a kind of a pain job, but I need to weld all the way around there and make that corner a sharp corner so that I don't have places where the metal will get underneath there and grab. The sharper the corner is, the less of an overhang or an underhang, however you want to look at it, will be present. But you notice that there's a little crack right there. If the aluminum gets down in that crack in between these two pieces, I can still take this piece off easily, but this piece is more stuck than it would necessarily need to be, because now there's just a little lip of aluminum over that edge. And I've noticed that is something that happens. It's kind of nice that it happens. It shows that doing a still mold casting, you get a lot of detail. You're capable of getting a lot of detail. But in the case of something like this, that's basically too much detail. So what I'll do is I'll weld around the bottoms of these, and then I'll file everything off so that they're sharp, and I'll just tune them up. Whatever needs to be done, I'll straighten them up, make them look okay. Well, they set in place. They set pretty good. But I've done, I welded all around the bottom to build that edge up. And the reason that I did that was because I was noticing that that's where these forms were being grabbed. Anyway, I touched up these areas yesterday and ground them down, and then today I've just finished, these are still warm, touching up little spots that needed to be done. Yeah, I know that looks kind of nasty. I may have to deal with that too, in a more meaningful way than I have. Anyway, the idea, of course, is to make the form easier to take apart. Because if it's easier to take apart, it means I'm bending it less. If I'm bending it less, that means it's going to be more stable in the condition that it's in. And the condition that it's in is not bowed and completely straight. That's the condition I want it to stay in. So I'll clean these up. I'll clean these little spots up. Make sure that these ground off spots are in good shape. There's no lumps left that could cause these to create large gaps under here. Then I'll go through each one and I'll just pick it up and I'll look at it through the light, and you can see I have a gap under there right now, but that's because I have little welding spots holding it up. But I'll do that, and I'll fit every one of these until they're damn near perfect on this piece, and I'll make sure that the top is flat. That's the best I can do with the top, because the top obviously mounts in that piece sitting over there on the table saw. So that's what I'm doing. There's your update. Another winter storm is coming in, so we're told. So apparently that's going to become a muddy, snowy mess, which is a real shame, but that's the time of year it is, and we do need the moisture and, stuff like that. This beautiful little casting, and this is the treble harp. Beautiful, beautiful casting is going to get recycled. Form is ready to go. And it's just a matter of me getting all my ducks in a row here. Use that saying more than once today. Anyway, there we go. Alrighty, getting ready to cast a treble harp with 713 alloy. I'm going to replace the one that had an unfortunate accident with the milling machine. And a friend of mine feels sick about that. But you know, these kind of things happen. Hell, they happen all the time. I guess that's called life. Oh yeah, we have some good orange glow happening there. So I'm going to poke and prod here in just a moment. Want to melt? That stuff just does not want to melt. Anyway, we're getting started. It's going to be a while. Go ahead and the wind's coming up, and hopefully we don't get rain or snow. All right, check it in a moment or two. It's finally starting to melt. Yay. Getting there. One piece heating up. Making it be the damper. And then that piece will wait. I'll chuck that piece in. Then put my tie bore in. Even though this is mainly 356 on this spoon, I'm going to go ahead geese flying north. I'm going to go ahead and melt this in, so my alloy is going to be not as pure as it could be otherwise, but I'm not that concerned about it, considering the part I'm making. It's not that hugely structural. Notice that I have 369 cores, and I probably have another one. That was a $15 bottle, so they actually less than that. So at that point, $1.75 a core for fuel. Anyway, pretty good. Anyway, it's about time to throw some tie bore in there and stir this up, dross it, start measuring. So let's get going. $673. About 7:30 something. I'm going to give it a few more seconds. Another measurement. 7. Okay. 7:53. Cool. Alrighty, form funnel wrapped, and I also put a little insulation around those perpendicular spots. $7.29. We're going to pour. Okay. Risk not too fast. So, boron nitrate, nice stuff. Alrighty, folks. Okay, it didn't fill all the way down there. I didn't pour really fast. I didn't pour that slow, and it looks like there was definitely enough metal for it. So there's not really much sinking or anything going on anywhere. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'll fix that. That is such a minor deal. It's not perfection. And, you know, I'm not really trying to get perfection. I'm just trying to figure out how to pour. The more that I work with these alloys, the more I like that wheel alloy. There's my casting with that wheel alloy. Melts about 100 degrees centigrade quicker, lower. It's easier to pour. It feels better. This, you know, I'm not. It'll work. It will definitely work. It's not as good as the last one because of all that crap down there that's missing. That does annoy me, but you know, it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, surface-wise, it looks pretty good. The form came apart decently. There's one little tiny hot crack in it, and that's right there. I don't see that as too big of an issue. And if I think it's an issue, I'll just, if I use it, I'll grind it down and fill that. Anyway, there it is. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to change the wire out in my welder to aluminum. Oh, this thing is hot. And I'm going to attempt repairs on all these things that I said I can repair so easily. So yesterday I cast the last one, which I think is this guy. Yeah, right here. I showed you some pictures of it. This bottom fin was messed up. Well, it didn't cast fully, but everything else cast so nice on this. So I went ahead and filled this. So it's an awesome casting. So I do have what I needed, what I wanted. I have one casting of each alloy. This being my 713, getting it right this last time. So this was what I did yesterday, and it's a nice form. There's a little extra here. It'll get cleaned up. It'll get machined. But I wanted to get it at least cleaned up to that point. And this is the awesome 356 piece, which I don't have the date on it. I'll have to go back and look to see when I cast this. But this is just a beautiful piece. I went ahead and filled the tiny little areas on that one that needed to be filled. It didn't take long. This was and is the best casting. this modeling that you see on it is actually extremely smooth. And for that matter, the modeling on this one is smooth too. So I've got two forms, or I've got two castings that should be able to make this piece. I do need to get them machined. Hopefully if my friend does it, he will have a better day than he did, and I won't have to cast another one. I ended up with 3 that are usable. These aren't quite as pretty as these castings. These are lighter, a little bit harder to cast, but still the shiny stuff is where I patched. Still have one spot I might weld in there. This is the piece that was the last casting that that had a spill at the top, and so it had some shrunk spots in it. One was a hole right up here. This is such a nice piece. By the way, turning this form over to fill it did make a lot of sense. This long thin piece is darn near perfect. There might be just a tiny bit of a depression in there. It's hardly anything, and it's well within reason. Good casting, and another 713 casting, which was done the 12th of this month. I'm not remembering the details on this casting, but it had a little crack, which is now fixed, and it had, oh yeah, that's right, I remember this one now. It had one depression in it right there. It's been filled. So this is a really pretty casting. My only concern with this casting is that there's a hump in the top. You might see there's a line on it right here. That's a straight line. That's going to have to be all machined off. I think there's enough. There was shrinkage, there was sinking in this casting. I welded a little bit on the surface here, but my welder's not really, it needs more speed. My feed isn't fast enough to really weld properly, so, and not a big deal. It will machine just fine. And then this cute piece, which really came out nice and has it's a pretty straight top on it. This was the one that I poured really slow. It had a little open spot, an open hole in the back of it, and it has just some funky surface. It just looks strange because of that slow pour. Anyway, this, and I don't have a date written on it. I'll do that. Just for, I guess, my own records. Anyway, that's a pretty darn good piece. So there we go. 3 of these to make 1 or 2 of these, or 3 of these. Because making 2 of these. So I got my 2 that I needed. We're in really good shape. So just a couple last thoughts about this casting. That 356, which I think is what it is, the wheel that I broke and that I made the castings out of, really cast much better than the than the 713, which I mixed. Now I'd like to try some commercially mixed 713 because it may well be a whole lot better. I can't really say for sure that my mix was any good. All I can say is I was able to cast, a successful piece of either harp with it. But really high melting temperature, and it is a lot tougher to fill the form with it. So the problem with the 356 is that it's a heat treated alloy, and so if I were to use it, I would really need to have an oven that I could kick up to over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit to cook it. So not that that's a big deal, but I don't have a lot of room in here, and I don't know that I want to go out and buy a danged oven to cook some aluminum for a project that I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. These permanent forms are pretty good. The nuts and bolts really don't like the heat. I've found that I'm replacing a lot of nuts and bolts. It might be that if I were to build them again, I would probably use thicker metal, and I would go ahead and I would make these tabs like I've got, and drill them so that they're precise, but I might not weld a nut to the back of the tab. And so if I get tired of messing with these things, I'll just cut the nuts off. That sounds bad, doesn't it? Anyway, I will remove the deattaching devices. There we go. But they're relatively fragile for as stout as you might think they would be, and they're built out of a 1/8 inch strap. These will work, and definitely work for my purposes, and I'll be able to cast, I don't know, the lifetime of these, I could probably make more pianos than I could sell, assuming that I would ever sell a piano. I like the outcome. And for all the variations and all the griping that I've done about little bits and things, little edges not filling or whatever, these forms or these castings are all so similar that, I mean, they really are precision. And you see how well they cleaned up with just a little bit of welding. Anytime you can cast cooler, and that's really the point, is probably a better thing. If you can cast, well, as cool as you can cast, you're going to get stronger metal. That's my understanding. But at some point, as the cooler you go, you're going to hit a point to where you're most likely to where you're having incomplete filling. So if you can get to that, just to the temperature where you're filling completely, but you're not casting as hot, you're going to be better off. This crucible, yeah, it's got a, I don't know that. This crucible is lasting really well. There's a couple spots there that I'll spray. That I'll make sure that I get some boron nitride in. But this crucible did 9 of these. Well, let's call it 8 pours, I think. Without contributing steel, without being eroded. So for the people out there that say you can't use a steel crucible, you can, and not only that, you can use a steel crucible and you can still pour a very clean alloy. There we go. This is the stuff that I used, by the way, XY or ZYP coatings. It's expensive, but as you can see if you've been watching these videos, this crucible stayed together really well. The only time that I messed this crucible up was when I was casting, or mixing the casting alloy, and that was, was way back, and that really destroyed the crucible really fast. And this is the original bottom of the crucible, and this is the weird stuff that I found growing in it after I had cast that alloy. Is that cool or what? So I'm making some minerals here. I don't know what they are, but I believe they're parts of that alloy that didn't mix well and that apparently didn't like steel. They liked steel. Maybe they liked steel because they ate a giant hole in that. And the point of this is, whether I use this or not, is that you can use a steel crucible, but don't mix alloys in it. Alrighty, it's been fun, and I will likely, once I get going on the wood section of that piano, make a few more of these videos and stick them out there, see how many people are interested. I have no idea how many people care about things I care about. Apparently a few of you do, but then you might be watching my videos because you know me and you're just being nice. I thank you, by the way, if that's the case. But I sure think it'd be a neat deal to take this piano, turn it into the same piano, but for this century. We need a cover shot for this. Yeah. Good, got it. Okay. Till next time.